Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to League Racing TV for round 2 of season 2 of TTML Formula 2. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Carmentis. I'll be taking you through proceedings on a Sunday night, and joining me in the commentary box once again this evening is TFB_Buck, otherwise known as Brandon. Brandon, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. This is so good to be in China. This is going to be a real challenge for the drivers.
It really is, yeah. We were just having a little bit of a chat before we got going with the stream today. We had a little bit of practice ourselves around this track, just seeing what these guys might be struggling with. And this track is going to be under Sear City for these guys, isn't it? With so many long corners, these Formula 2 cars with such little downforce on them, these guys are really going to struggle to get the front of the car turned into a lot of these corners.
Definitely. I mean, after last week, I thought like, okay, so these F2 cars, they can't be that difficult to drive, you know. You used to drive in Formula 1 and you can save, like if it goes into a tiny spin, you can maybe save it. Things are a lot faster, the car's a lot lighter. And I got into this F2 car and it was like a monster. I was like, wow, these guys are, okay, the skills of driving around like they did last week, that was impressive.
It definitely was, yeah. And we saw a lot of people last time out in Bahrain get a little bit caught out in some certain corners, especially turn 4 of Bahrain. That seemed to be a killer last time out for a lot of drivers. So look out for maybe another corner on this track that could catch a number of people out. There's 16 corners around this track, and this is the only track on this calendar that we're going to that isn't usually featured on a Formula 2 calendar. So this is a little bit of an anomaly for the Formula 2 cars, and obviously don't go here because it's quite out of the way. It's in Asia, so it's quite a way away for these Formula 2 cars to get to this track for the start of the Formula 2 season. Just going to run you through as well the championship standings coming into the second round of the season. Unfortunately, because of a lobby glitch last time out before the sprint race results have been nullified, so that means that there were no points scored in the sprint race last time out. That somewhat saved Scuba, who had a absolutely horrid performance in the sprint race last time out. He won, though, the feature race by quite a long margin. He leads the championship then over Stebian, Siege, Deadly Flu, Afrifresh, Jetty, Mashiro, Neymar, Svenden and Maze are your top 10 in the points. The only other 3-point scorers are Silas, Conti and Yitzler. Everyone else has failed to score a point so far. So we had quite a few drivers here last time out, but just goes to show these cars are difficult to drive because not a lot of people were able to make it to the end of each race.
Yeah, that's true. It's this, I mean, if you lose the back end of the car, it's like, it's so difficult. And here we go into qualifying.
Here we go then, and we're going to ride on board with last week's winner and pole sitter, Scuba. He's going to take us through a lap then around this Shanghai International Circuit. Through the long turn 1 he goes, and then it tightens up into turn 2. There's not really any discrepancy between the two corners, but that's turn 2 and now drop down into turn 3. Easy to lock up, but Scuba gets the car turned in nicely. Now through the kink of 4 on the exit of the corner and down towards the end of the first sector. Kink of 5, easily flat, heavy braking zone for turn 6. That's one of the slowest corners on the track, this one. The second slowest are one of multiple hairpins around this track. Up the hill then into this middle sector. Easily flat this first corner is in a modern Formula 1 car. In a Formula 2 car you have to back off, as Scuba shows there, but he backed off a little bit too much and had to get back on the throttle midway through the corner then into turn 8. Slows on the exit of the corner, ready for a double apex left-hander. Turn 9 and 10. Tightens up on the inside of the corner and then opens up for the second part of that little double apex, and then this short straight down towards the end of the second sector and now into the final sector, the longest sector on the track. This one, a really tight left-hander there, and now opens up into the next right-hander, which opens up into turn 13. Really long corner. It is banked, so that will help the Formula 2 cars just a little bit, and Scuba able to keep the car flat out of the corner, and now down this 1.1 kilometer back straight. Great overtaking opportunity around this track. We've seen so many great overtakes in modern Formula 1 around this circuit because of the length of this straight. Down towards the end of the straight, then the tight hairpin at the end of it. Heavy braking zone. Brake about 125 metres before the corner. Scuba a little bit wide on the exit of the corner, but gets it nicely through the very small kink of 15. And now turn 16, the final corner. Very easy to overshoot this one and invalidate your time. Scuba keeps it on the road nicely, but it's Honey Badger that gets pole position. Then Scuba only P6 on the grid. Last week's pole sitter and winner by quite a long way could only manage 6th on the grid this time round.
I thought that was really nicely driven, Scuba, just for the record. And again, the commentary is unbelievable, man. You got control. But nice going, Honey Badger. All right.
Brilliant stuff from Honey Badger. Yeah, we saw last time out he had good pace, did Honey Badger, but just that curse of being in a Formula 2 car really struck him again, and he made a few mistakes, and it cost him great results. His opening lap in the feature race last time out was something to behold. I think he went through half the field in about half a lap, and this time round he won't have to do that. He's starting right on pole position, 0.3 of a second ahead of Afrifrish, who was again on the front row for the second week running. He gets second place on the grid. Siege in third in the second, Charu, so great for them in the team's championship. Mishira ahead of Stebian, then Scuba. Prenz, who's new to the championship, Mace, Invictus, and Yitzler rounds off the top 10. Ivoxara, Conti, and Yeti, the only ones that set time. Halvden, Svensson, Silas, and Neymar all invalidated their time. So 4 drivers that weren't able to set a valid time in that qualifier session. Conti and Yeti clearly made mistakes on their laps. They were 12 and 25 seconds off the pace respectively. So they're obviously a little bit further down, but Honey Badger at the front of the field once again, but noticeably as well, Afrifrish for the second week running on the front row.
And Honey Badger, I'm going to tip for the podium this week as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do the same. I think I've noticed with Honey Badger in the past that when he's in the pack, he tends to make a few mistakes, but when he's out front, he tends to just disappear off into the distance. He's done that so many times. I mean, I may have just cursed him before the race has started, and I know that he'd be a bit annoyed with me if I've done that to him again, but we'll have to wait and see. But he's definitely my tip. For the rest of the podium, though, for you, who you got your eye on?
That's a good question. I mean, Scuba definitely. I think that we can't totally ignore. And I'm gonna go for Yeti 11 because there was such crazy cool battles. Yeti showed last week that he can tackle the pressure. So
you definitely can. Yeah, the highlight of the feature race last week was that battle between Yeti and Mashiro. That was a stunning battle between those two.
Yeah, it was.
And Yeti held on for pretty much the majority of that race, was able to stay ahead of Mashiro, and we know Mashiro to be a very fast driver. Just couldn't find a way through around a track like Bahrain where it is relatively easy to overtake. So, yeah, like you say, Yeti could be the one to look out for a bit further down the field. Let's have a look as well and see what tyres everyone is on for the start of this race. We've got pretty much everyone starting on the harder compound of tyres, which is very unusual to see. You usually see more people at the front of the field maybe going for a set of softs, but we know how high the degradation is around this track in Formula 1 cars. In Formula 2 cars, I can't imagine how bad the degradation is going to be on the softer set of tyres. Ivoxara and Silas in 11th and 16th on the grid, the only ones starting on a set of softs, so they're going to have to look to make places very early on in this race.
That's going to be fun. But I mean, I don't know how much you can say for people that haven't tried this racing. Because for me, and I even got some friends racing this week here in Norway, and we were saying, guys, you have to try this F2. It's unbelievable. The braking is so much different than Formula 1. I mean, Formula 1, you can brake really hard, you can brake late. Here, you have to think about braking a little bit before.
Yeah, you definitely do. We notice there's a different kind of locking system with these cars as well. You have to run a very different brake bias in these cars than you do to the Formula 1 cars. Majority of the time in the Formula 1 car is someone's just spun there. That's Invictus that spun coming down the formation lap, so hopefully he's able to get back onto the road without too much problem for his tyres. But yeah, like you were saying, most drivers in the Formula 1 cars are able to run with about 50% brake bias and not really have to worry too much about locking the rear tyres or so. In a Formula 2 car, though, you run with too farther rearward brake bias and you lock the rear tyres and you spin before you even get to the corner. So it is a very difficult to adjust to, and you've got to say that some drivers have adjusted to it a lot better than others.
Did you just see Honey Badger drifting around that hairpin?
Definitely trying to get some heat into those medium tyres. Great stuff to see. We've got more people just getting ready at the back of the field. A little bit spread out as well, this formation lap. So Honey Badger, I think, was trying to back people up a little bit so he didn't have to wait too long. But Neymar, 17th on the grid, is quite a way back. He's only just left the hairpin. So those drivers are definitely going to have to wait quite a while for the people on the front of the grid on those medium tyres.
I'm looking forward so much to see how they tackle these hairpins. When I was practicing this earlier, I thought, like, okay, good luck, guys. This is so difficult, and it's so difficult just in time trial. But with the pressure of the other cars trying to get past, respect. This is going to be tough.
It really is going to be tough. Let's see how these guys tackle turn one as well. Obviously, such a long sweeping right-hander. So much understeer can be formed at the start of this race with the heavy fuel loads and these Formula 2 cars. Everyone just getting ready to line up in their grid slots then. And we are ready to go then for the feature race here at China. Who is going to get the best start off the front row? It's lights out and away we go. Svensson's got a jump through. He's got a jump start drive through penalty, so that's already him out of running. But Afrifresh, what a start from Afrifresh, second on the grid. He's immediately into the lead of the race into turn 1. Honey Badger wasn't able to hold it off. Siege is trying to work his way through as well. Prenz has had a brilliant start as well with the Univirtuoso. Oh, someone off the road, yeah.
Flying. Yeah, we've got wings flying, we've got cars sliding off. It's a bit crazy here.
Yeah, crazy in the mid-pack there. Conti, I think, was sideways across the road. Some people have got away with it, but definitely one of the BWTs has had a moment.
Invictus has just slid out.
Yeah, that's another spin. He spun on the formation lap as Afrifresh, I think, is trying to hold on to the lead. Honey Badger trying to retake the lead here from Afrifresh and can't get the move done. Down towards turn 6, Afrifresh just holds on, and Honey Badger runs into the back of him, just gets away with it. But that's going to allow...
Guys, come on, respect. Last week these guys were like, oh, what gentleman driving this was. What is going on at China?
I know that something has happened to these guys because there's a lot of stuff going on, and Honey Badger was just able to hold on to second place from Siege, who wasn't able to capitalise on that mistake. Prenz in the Univirtuoso, currently running in 5th, has had a great start. He was up from 7th on the grid. Maze has had a good start into 7th place as well. Scuba's dropped. I don't know if Scuba's maybe involved in that carnage earlier on. He hasn't got any visible damage that we can see, but he's dropped from 6th to 9th on the opening lap, so he's a little bit out of order as well, as I think Svensson may have had a little bit of a moment through that long turn 13. And now we've got Honey Badger under pressure from Siege once again, heading down towards the hairpin. Siege looking to the inside line, but ever the cautious driver, Siege does not go for the move. He's just going to sit back and wait for the time being. Afrifresh and it is. Oh, Honey Badger again, very sideways out of that hairpin, just about holds onto it, but my word, he's really pushing it.
Honey Badger, yeah, that was cool.
That was, yeah.
More drifting in Formula 2.
Yeah,
and Mashiro, I mean, like, Mashiro had an unbelievable battle with Jetty last week, so let's see who Mashiro can get in a battle with in this race.
Yeah, he's just re-overtaken Prenzen for 5th place. Mashiro was 4th on the grid, but he's dropped to 5th place in the race. He's got Stepien directly in front of him. Stepien, remember, was what was going to be leading the championship. Were the points counted for the sprint race last time out, he would have been in the lead of the championship, so he'll be a little bit gutted that he hasn't got those points. And yet again, Honey Badger's trying to go for the move here down towards turn 6, but just can't get the move done. Afrifresh had a great start off the line, but you can tell as Jetty's retired from the race, unfortunately. He's spun, I think, coming out of turn 4, and he's put the car in the wall, and I think Halfton has retired from the race as well, unfortunately. We've got a few people in the pit lane. But as I was saying, Afrifresh had a great start off the line, but you can immediately tell that Honey Badger's more comfortable.
I mean, on the second swing, on the second corner here, it's such a if you can get good starts, like this is one of the tracks where a good start means a lot. Just get out of the way in that second corner. There was so much carnage happening there today.
There was quite a lot of carnage. A lot of people into the pit lane. Then Svensson in for a drive-through penalty. Yitz has been into the pit lane. Invictus has been into the pit lane for another set of medium tyres, so he will have to pit again. Obviously, these guys have all pitted before the mandatory pit stop window, so they will all have to pit again in this race. So it's Afrifresh that leads. Honey Badger not close enough down this back straight to make a move, but DRS will be enabled on the next lap. Mashiro's trying to recover as well, having a look to the inside of Stebbian down towards the hairpin, but again, it's just not close enough to make the move stick as it stands. So he'll stay in 5th place for the time being. Further back, Scuba's trying to work his way back through the field, and he's up now into 7th place. He passes Maze, working his way back through nicely, Scuba, after a poor start.
Yeah, I mean, Scuba showed us last week of the qualities that he has to be able to drive around it, so he should be able to pick up some places here, definitely.
Yeah, crucial for him to get those moves done as early as possible. He's got some clean air now that he can drive into and use those medium tyres for. Can he close in on Prenz, who's running in that Univirtuoso in 6th place on the road? Afrifresh is then that still leads, but it's only 0.3 of a second. And Honey Badger looks so strong in the first sector of this lap every time. Yeah, every time.
Honey Badger's drifting. Like, I mean, if you watch Honey Badger, I don't know if it's controlled or it's like he's doing his best to hold on to the track.
It does seem a little bit all over the place, but he has got great speed. It's got good forward momentum, even though he's sliding all over the place. His first sector does look insanely good. He's right on the back of Afrifresh every time they get to turn 6, but then it's just not a deep enough braking zone for him to really make the move. Again, really close to the back of him there in turn 9, but just isn't close enough. Afrifresh, though, you can tell already picking up a lot of understeer there through turn 10. So I'm wondering whether some of these guys are starting to experience overheating tyres. Ooh, my word, is Honey Badger again a massive slide.
Yeah, I mean, this track is one of the most demanding for it. It's like you're going at top speed, even down this DRS straight, to getting over to 300 kilometers an hour, and then at the end of this straight, I mean, it's straight into another hairpin. That how late can these guys wait in the Formula 2 cars to brake?
Yeah, how can they late? Mashiro, meanwhile, is going for the move on Stebian for P4. He's going to move to the inside line. Hasn't got a great car in a straight line, has Mashiro, but that doesn't matter. He's through on the dams and he's up into 4th place. Back where he started this race is the HWA Race Lab.
That was a really nice move, Mashiro. Nice.
Yeah, he set that up nicely coming out of turn 13. Actually, was already alongside coming out of the corner, so he had a brilliant run through there. Meanwhile, AfriFresh under massive pressure now as Honey Badger's going to the outside for turn 1, and AfriFresh can do nothing about it. Honey Badger had such a good run, but he's trying to come back down the inside.
Hang on, Honey Badger, hang on, no!
Can he do it? And then into turn 3, Honey Badger locks up the inside front, but he gets away with it, and that's Honey Badger now into the lead of the race. So it was kind of coming. We were just waiting for the right moment, and Honey Badger picked his moment nicely, and he's back in the lead of the race.
Okay, but respect to AfriFresh there. AfriFresh did give just the right amount of space to Honey Badger.
He definitely did, yeah. Gave him enough space for him to be able to pull that move off. It was fair racing. Siege wasn't able to capitalise on that either. Siege, we saw this last week as well from Siege, really, didn't we? That he had good pace, but when it came to battling other people, he just wasn't taking the risks. He just didn't want to make any moves.
He's going to have to if he's got Mashiro right back. Mashiro was like had this so amazing battles again. Honey Badger sliding all over the place, but yeah. Okay. I think we're going to see that AfriFresh is keeping a really tight distance here to Honey Badger.
He definitely is. Is he going to be close enough down this back straight? But gets caught on the curb there a little bit, and that's going to allow Siege to get closer. Can Siege make a move on his teammate here? AfriFresh definitely struggling on these medium tyres. Had a great start, but since then it's just kind of dropped off a little bit, and Honey Badger's already over a second ahead. Siege's got a great car in a straight line, and you would imagine that AfriFresh isn't going to fight this too hard. These two, remember, are teammates as they head down into the hairpin, and AfriFresh backs out of it. Siege very late on the brakes. Somehow gets it stopped. Does he get it stopped? Actually, he's a bit late on the exit of the corner, but AfriFresh decides against going down the outside for the last corner. So Siege up into second place, gets the moves done on his teammate, but you can just tell that AfriFresh is really struggling for pace as he's now trying to go for a move back past his teammate into turn 1. These two continue to battle. This is just allowing Honey Badger to get further up the road, and AfriFresh back down the inside of his teammate, and they actually make slight contact there to AfriFresh and Siege. AfriFresh back into second place, but now all of a sudden, look, Mashiro's come from absolutely nowhere.
Here comes Mashiro.
Yeah, here he comes then. The opposite struggled so much last week to try and get the moves done, did Mashiro. He's going to try and have to get these moves done as early as possible this time round. Stebian's closed in as well. He's stuck to the back of Mashiro since he's been overtaken by him. Scuba and Prenz are starting to close in on this battle as well. And look how...
If we can get Prenz and Scuba up there, we're going to have 6 cars really close to each other.
Yeah, and they're all very similarly paced at this point in the race, all on the same strategy as well, so it all depends on when these guys pit. Honey Badger has disappeared. Oh, AfriFresh has spun the car coming through turn 8. There wasn't any contact, I don't think. A really light contact with the wall was somehow taking his wheel off, so AfriFresh, from a great possibility of a podium, has spun and is out of the feature race. What a disaster for AfriFresh, and at the same time, Mashiro and Stebian are side by side. Stebian's trying to get that move done back on Mashiro up into the podium place. He's going to go around the outside of turn 13, but Mashiro has the better line for the corner and just about holds on to it for the time being. But now we've got a long back straight, and they're both going to have DRS here. Who's got the faster car in a straight line? That's going to be crucial as they come down this straight. Stebian tucks back in behind, trying to get the toe off of the race lab down into the hairpin. Late on the brakes is Mashiro, though. He's going to hold the inside line. Scuba, meanwhile, in the background is going to try and go around the outside of Prenz. Doesn't quite get the move done on the entry to the corner, but gets a great exit out of the hairpin.
Oh, yeah, nice of Scuba.
Yeah, up into 5th place, but what a shame for AfriFresh that his race is over just like that.
That was a real shame, but I mean, from the start we saw AfriFresh, I mean, got a really great start, but this is a difficult track, and I'm sort of thinking, okay, AfriFresh is giving space, but maybe there was a little bit of holding back there, because this is a really difficult track to drive.
It really is, yeah, and you could tell that he was struggling just a little bit. Stebian trying to re-go for the move at turn 1 again on Mashiro and just couldn't get the move done around the outside. But I'm wondering whether these guys really are starting to hit a cliff on these tyres. We're seeing a lot of people understeering, so this track is synonymous with having high tyre wear and really high tyre temperatures, and Formula 2 cars are known to burn through their tyres. So do you think these guys are maybe starting to struggle a little bit with tyre overheating?
I think so. I think maybe a good tactic. I mean, like we see possibly with Siege now, it's just okay. Time to calm down. Time to keep the car on the track, keep it between the lines, and see what happens. I mean, yeah, I totally agree that some of these guys are going to be struggling with tires, are going to be struggling in the battles. They're going to be and unfortunately, just like AfriFresh driving off. That's a pity.
Yeah, such a pity for AfriFish, maybe just pushing a little bit too hard, but you can tell the people that were pushing early on in the race are now starting to struggle because Mashiro had a great start, well, had a poor first lap, recovered really well, and now all of a sudden is back under pressure from the cars behind who have caught him up. Scuba's had a great recovery in this race as well. He's right on the back of this queue, and Prenz is not far back either. If he decides to pit earlier than these guys, he could jump the lot of them if he's careful, as Stebian has a look to the inside towards the hairpin, but just can't get the move done on Mashiro, and they're starting to re-close in on Siege just a little bit, who again outbreaks himself slightly into the hairpin. Further back down the field, Yitzler has had a spin in the second race lap coming out of turn 3 as Honey Badger sets another fastest lap of the race, and he's doing exactly what I said he would do. Once he's out in the lead of the race and he's not battling anyone, he just disappears off into the distance.
Keep it going, Honey Badger.
Yeah, keep it going, Honey Badger. Let's see if he can actually get to the end of the race this time. It's really hope, because this man has got such good pace, but the luck is just never with this man. It is such a shame to see him so many times having spins or being caught up in someone else's incident. It's just so frustrating.
What's the expectation of the medium tyres here?
I think the expectation of the medium tyres is to go to about lap 10 or 11, and we're only on lap 7 of this race, so we've got at least 4 laps to go on these tyres, and then the softs are going to have to come in. But we've already seen Yitzer's had a spin on the softs, and they're only 3 laps old, so who knows how far the softs can get in this race.
But at least now we've got a nice train here of Prenz, who's holding back a little bit, and you can notice whenever they're breaking the guys in front on 3rd, 4th, 5th place, and it looks like Prenz just holding back a little bit, just waiting for the right time to attack.
Definitely, yeah, he might be doing the strategy of just staying out the dirty air, trying to protect his tyres a little bit. Scuba had a bit of a moment there out of turn 10. That's allowed Prenz to get a little bit closer. These high-techs are a little bit all over the place, aren't they, at the moment? Both Honey Badger and Scuba seem to be really fighting the car. They're holding on to it for the time being, but they're just really struggling to find a lot of grip out there, as Mashiro doesn't have DRS crucially this time around on Siege, so is Stebian going to be close enough down towards the hairpin? I don't think he is. Remember, there's no ERS or fuel modes in these Formula 2 cars. You're purely relying on the DRS to make your moves, and Stebian unfortunately not close enough down that back straight, so he's going to have to stick back for a time being. Beyond the top 6, Mays currently runs in 7th place, but you can just tell there's a massive split here between 6th and 7th place, 10 seconds after 6 laps.
Yeah, that's true. But a question on ERS, that's a good thing, right, in Formula 2, that they don't have something like ERS. I mean, this is pure driving skills here.
It definitely is. I think so. ERS in Formula 2 would be... I would think it would be a detriment to the sport. I think the fact that it is just pure driving skill and being able to adapt to the different conditions is what makes Formula 2 what makes and breaks a Formula 2 driver, and what makes the series so great is that everyone is on such an equal playing field. As Stebian has a look there down towards turn 6 on Mashiro. I can't get the move done. Mashiro has swapped positions here from what happened in Bahrain. Last time out, Mashiro was trying all the moves and couldn't get the moves done, and now he's defending all of the moves that are coming at him now.
Yeah, he seems to be doing okay at it as well now. It looks like there's quite a bit of pressure behind him, but at the moment, Mashiro looks like he's got control over that car.
Yeah, it looks nice and neat so far. He's not struggling to keep the car on the road. So. Yeah, it seems alright so far. Scuba, you've got to say, is probably the faster of the 3 from 3rd, 4th and 5th, but just can't find a way through at the moment, being at the back of the queue. There's not really a lot of opportunities for him to try and make that move stick. As they come through then turn 13, who's going to get the best one off of this corner? It looks like might be Scuba, but then the second part of the corner, Scuba has quite a lot of understeer, and that's just going to affect his run onto the straight. I don't think he's going to be close enough to Stebian to make a move stick, especially considering Stebian has DRS himself off of Mashiro. So I think we now just have to...
Like when they're driving down this and it's in the Formula 2, it's like, come on guys, hit the ERS, hit the ERS. Oh, you haven't got the ERS.
Yeah, these guys must be a little bit frustrated, mustn't they? That at some point down the straight they were thinking, well, we've got to try and get this move done, and then they can't because they haven't got any other driver aids that they can use. And like we say, it was all about really pure speed, and when everyone's so closely matched, it is really, really difficult to find a gap.
Yeah, that's true. You know, another thing, I went back to the Formula after I was training this for quite a few hours, driving Formula 2 with some friends, and we went back to Formula 1, and the driving of the Formula 2 and then the Formula 1, I'm actually going to recommend people that want to learn this game without using assists to try Formula 2 without assists, because it's like a totally different game within a game. For me, I discovered like, wow, this is a totally new game that I didn't know existed.
Yeah, I definitely think that as well. If you want to learn no assists, getting a Formula 2 car, it is a lot more difficult to drive, but I think more rewarding when you get it right with no assists on it. It is very fun to drive when you get it right. When you get it wrong, it's incredibly frustrating, but when you get it right, it is absolutely brilliant to drive. Meanwhile, we haven't spoken about him in a couple of laps. Honey Badger still leads this race. That lead is now 6 seconds, and he continues to set fastest laps, so he is looking very, very comfortable in the lead of this race.
Yeah, that's true, and that's exactly what you predicted with Honey Badger, that if he can get out in the lead and just concentrate on setting fast laps, that should be okay for him.
Definitely, it's very reminiscent of what we used to see from Vettel back in the Red Bull days, where he would struggle maybe when he was battling other cars, but when he was out on his own, he was in a class of his own and would just appear. And it's very similar from what we saw from Scuba last time out as well, when he was in the lead of the race, just kind of disappeared at the front. Scuba, meanwhile, trying to go for a move on Stebbian, and again, not close enough into the hairpin, just can't find a way through. We're getting towards the pit window now, so it all depends who's brave enough to go onto the soft tyres. You would imagine that maybe in a couple laps' time we'll see our first drivers in. As actually, we're going to see drivers in now. Stebbian
they're going in.
That's quite early, actually, coming in at the end of lap 9. So that's 7 laps on a set of soft tyres. That is a tall order, considering they only did 9 on the mediums.
Oh, this is going to be exciting now. They're going in and changing already. So Stebbian is going to be fun to see what happens. Scuba, definitely. I wonder, and it seemed like Scuba had decided already to go into pit here.
Yeah, I think he definitely had decided. I think Stebbian, maybe changed his mind at the last moment, seeing Mashiro stay out. And I think he just decided to come in because he wasn't. So, I mean, who knows how the strategy is going to work out. It might pay dividends for them now, and they might be able to get the undercut, but at the end of the race, they could be really struggling on tyres. Stebbian then out in 8th place on the road with masses of clean air for him to push into, so he's not going to get held up by anybody in this race. Neither is Scuba by the looks of things. Now we get to see the pace advantage of the soft tyres. How fast are they straight out of the gate? And immediately, Stebbian takes 0.3 of a second out of Neymar in front of him in one corner, so almost immediately the soft tyres are incredibly fast. Mashiro here's got to pit now, otherwise he's going to lose his podium spot.
Oh, that could be dodgy.
It definitely could.
That's
Siege
like
as well. Siege is not far up the road. If Siege isn't careful here as well, he could get jumped by both Stebbian and Scuba as well in this race.
Yeah, Mashiro's pushing hard, so I guess that it's pit time for Mashiro now.
Yeah, you would imagine so, that he's going to come in on this lap. Pren's probably running in 4th place now, a little bit detached from this queue. Lost a little bit of time in the last couple of laps.
Honey Badger is into the pits.
Yes, race leader in then, so he's in for a set of soft compound tyres. You would imagine Siege is going to follow him in. Yes, he is.
And Mashiro.
I think they're all going to be coming in. Prenz, is he into the pit lane? Yes, he is as well. So Maze is next. Maze, Conti and Neymar are the only other people who are yet to make a stop in this race, apart from Spendon, but obviously he had a drive-through at the start of this race, and Conti under a little bit of pressure from Neymar there, who just had to back out of the move, and they are all into the pits. So everyone then into the pit lane, as actually Neymar's too fast into the pit lane and runs into the back of Conti, so Neymar breaks his front wing in the pit lane, and this pit lane entry here is very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that drivers don't actually practice on. It's like, we're driving, we're doing time trials, we're practicing, we're racing, and there's actually quite a few seconds to pick up around the pit stops.
Yeah, definitely is. You can pick up a lot if you're aggressive into the pit lane. Honey Badger back out in the lead. Stebbian has ended up in 2nd here, so he's jumped Mashiro and Siege in 1 lap. That is a massive pace advantage between the softs and the medium tyres, and he's already broken DRS to Siege as well, so Stebbian could have been an inspired decision for him coming into the pit lane on the lap previous. Mashiro, Mashiro's been jumped by Scuba, but Mashiro has dropped quite a bit of time to Siege in front, so I'm not sure if Mashiro maybe got a little bit held up in the pit lane. Scuba jumped Mashiro, but wasn't able to jump Siege, so at the moment it looks like Stebbian's the one that's pulled the master stroke.
Yeah, definitely, and Scuba's going to launch an attack on Siege here. I can see that coming. Scuba is pushing that, and in front of them, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun to see what happens. We're going to hit the DRS here, and we'll see what happens.
It definitely is. Remember, Scuba in the lead of the championship coming into this round, and Stebian in second place coming into this championship round. So these two are the leaders in the championship as it stands. So look out for these, and Siege is third. So these guys are all the top three in the championship, and Honey Badger, if he's able to stay on and win this race, could throw himself to the front of the championship in one round. So who knows how this is going to play out. Scuba then, is he close enough to Siege down towards the hairpin? I don't think he is. He's got a lot of speed in a straight line. No, just not close enough. So DRS doesn't seem to be that strong around here.
No, I mean it's a really difficult corner. I don't know what number that is, but that's a tough corner to get out of at high speed. The cars are in third and fourth, and just going up to fourth. It's a really difficult corner to accelerate hard out of.
Yeah, definitely is. You need to absolutely nail it.
You fastest time.
Yeah, that was Stebian, and then Scuba jumped him on the next, but literally just 5 seconds later stole that fastest lap off of him, so that's a point back to Scuba in this race, so keep an eye out for that. All points count, remember, so for fastest lap and pole position you do get points, so look out for those for Scuba, who's just holding the fastest lap point as it stands, but you would imagine that probably Honey Badger is going to try and nick that off of him, and Honey Badger sets the fastest first sector of anybody so far. He's picked up a time penalty on the previous lap, but his lead is so massive at this point in the race that doesn't necessarily matter. And one thing I've noticed here, Stebian had a 1 second gap to Siege, and within a lap, Siege just brought it back again.
Yes, I think because I think we're looking at Stebian, we're looking at Scuba, but in between, Siege is driving strongly in the middle there.
He definitely is. He's ever the consistent man. Maybe not aggressive, but very smart with his driving. And he seems to look after his tyres well. But Scuba, what a run. Out of turn 10, he got there. Coming up towards turn 11, he has a look to the inside and then to the outside. And Siege slightly outbrakes himself.
Ooh,
just about gets away with it. Scuba not going to be able to find a line. And then Siege drives right to the inside there of turn 13 to try and get the shortest run through the corner. Scuba, though, has got a brilliant run this time around. Surely he's close enough to maybe think about a move down towards the hairpin. But Siege is going to have DRS himself off of Stebian in front, so these two are nearly nullified in a straight line. And look at that, Scuba's not gaining anything in a straight line. He's going to try and send it on the brakes, but Siege recognises it, brakes late himself, and again Scuba can't make the move stick into the hairpin.
No, but I thought that was okay off Scuba there. It wasn't the right time to attack. It was crazy speed, and coming to the end of that straight, and it's like you can't brake late with these cars. I mean, it's so difficult to brake late in the F2 cars.
It really is difficult to brake late, like you say. You've got to absolutely nail it or be very lucky if you brake late in these cars to get away with it. And Siege is looking very fast all of a sudden. I'm wondering whether we're seeing the effects of degradation on the soft tyres already, because Stebian, on that previous lap, I'd just like to say that Stebian was nearly 2 seconds slower than Honey Badger. That is a massive time loss. Oh yeah, Prenz, I just saw that. Yeah, he's dropped down the field as he had a little bit of a moment, it seems, maybe at turn 1. And that's put Ivoxara up into 6th place. Ivoxara started on the soft Campon tyres. He had a spin earlier on, I think, with contact down on at the hairpin. So he got taken out very early on in this race. This has been a great recovery from Ivoxara so far.
Yeah. Nice going. Get the Ivoxara up to 6th place. And again, but these spins, is like in these F2 cars, nothing can be taken for granted. These are such difficult cars to control around tracks like this. So, and even as we saw last week, cars that are out in the lead. Oh, and what has happened? Honey Badger's lead.
Oh wow, yeah. I've completely missed that.
Just as we were talking about it, Honey Badger's lead has been cut down to 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, he's made a my word. Well, this is throwing
10 seconds.
This is throwing it wide open. Here comes Siege going for a move on Stebian. Look at Siege's car in a straight line. He breezed past Stebian down the back straight. Stebian could do nothing about it, but Siege again late on the brakes into the hairpin, but I think he's going to get the move done coming out of the corner, then into the last corner of the lap. Siege then up into 2nd place, and all of a sudden he now has an opportunity at the race win here to Siege, because Honey Badger has a time penalty, so the net gap is only 0.6 of a second. Can Siege close in on Honey Badger and try and steal the win off of Honey Badger at the dying deaths of this race? That would be incredible to see. And I didn't even see where Honey Badger went off the road. He must have had a half spin somewhere in one of these long corners. But all of a sudden, that confidence that he had seems to have disappeared.
I think it looks like he's going to pick it up again. I mean, this is the test. After you spin like that, do you take it easy or do you have to push again? Looks like Honey Badger's getting it back up again. But Scuba is sitting beside Stevan, behind Siege, looking, when's the time to attack? But it's only 2.5 laps left. If Scuba's going to do it, he has to do it soon.
He definitely does, yeah, and he doesn't want to let Siege get too far up the road if he wants an opportunity at second place in this race. Honey Badger, like you say, does seem to be getting that gap back up ever so slightly. Not as much as he was earlier, but is definitely pushing forwards, trying to rebuild the gap, just in case anything happens in the latter stages of this race. Scuba, again, looks very strong at a turn 10, but turn 11 is not an overtaking opportunity, so you just can't go for the move there. Steven just looking... just really struggling at this point in the race, and Siege looking a lot stronger now in second place. Has Steven lost DRS, I wonder if Steven's lost DRS here to the back of Siege. Has he got DRS down this straight? I don't think he has. And Scuba's now finally got a chance here at getting onto the podium. Is he going to look to the inside line? Stebian does nothing about it, and to the inside goes Scuba late on the brakes. Is the high tech, and he's going to get the move done. And Steven runs out a little bit wide, and here comes Mashiro out of nowhere with a great run, but he's not far enough alongside for the last corner. He's going to try and hold it around the outside, but you can't really do that. Can he get a run down towards turn 1 maybe? But Steven has got DRS this time round. Mashiro trying to go for the move into turn 1, the penultimate lap of the race. He looks to the inside line, is late on the brakes, but Steven cuts it off, and Mashiro can't get the move done.
That's not the place to do it. That's not the place to do it.
Yeah,
come on, Mashiro, you can do it. You can wait.
Yeah, you've got to wait for a better opportunity, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But that was great driving of Scuba. He's been waiting and waiting for several laps, and then we saw it. It was like 316 kilometers an hour against 295. So, I mean, if you can get the DRS to the car in front, it makes a big difference in Formula 2 here.
It definitely does. Steven really struggling now on those soft compound tyres. From what could have been second place, he's already dropped to 4th. So he's really struggling on this set of tyres. That early pit stop looked good, and all of a sudden it's played against him. Mashiro starting to close in on him now. Can he get back up into 4th place in this race? Mashiro started this race 4th. Can he finish in 4th? Remember, we also have a reverse grid battle to go on into this race, and at the moment the reverse grid is between Maze and Conti for 8th place on the road. Maze, though, doesn't have a penalty, so Maze is going to get this at its stance.
Mashiro had that late braking.
Ooh, a little bit of a moment then for Mashiro, and that may be the opportunity gone because he's lost a bit of time. He'll have one more lap to do it, but you can see how much Steven is struggling because Siege and Scuba have kind of disappeared up the road now.
Yeah, they have, and Honey Badger has built up the lead again, so we'll not bother saying anything about how big that lead is, but Honey Badger's leading the way.
As it stands here, onto the final lap of the race, and Honey Badger a little bit of a moment with through this race, but he's getting away with it. It has a bit of a slide there out of the last corner, but gets away with it. I don't want to say anything because I don't want him to drop it on the last lap. That would be such a shame. Mashiro, though, had a great run through the final corner. Is he close enough to Steven down towards turn 1? I don't think he is, so he's going to stay in 5th place for the time being. He'll have really one more.
Patience for Mashiro. I think if he can just concentrate and staying close enough now, he should be able to do it.
We're just trying to switch back here into turn 2. He's going to go down the inside.
Guys, be careful!
My word, it's left him enough room, I think. Has he left Steven enough room? He has. Steven's still side by side, but Mashiro's going to get the run, but gets a wobble on coming through turn 4, and that's going to allow Steven back in front. And again, Mashiro may be getting a little bit too impatient. Late dive down towards turn 6. Does he get that one stopped? He does. What a move there from Mashiro, yeah. Who says you can't late break in Formula 2?
Exactly, that was great.
That was
I thought like, oh no, he's gone too late, and hey, he kept it.
He did keep it. That was brilliant stuff from Mashiro. Amazing that he got that one stopped. So he's up into 4th, and Steven's race, what could have been a podium for him, he's just dropped on these soft tyres, and he's understeering like mad. You can tell he's really struggling on this set of tyres. Then we're on the final lap into the final sector, so we're going to ride with Honey Badger down this back straight. Someone's had a spin towards the back. I think that was Yitzel that's had a spin in that second race lap car. So Honey Badger then down the back straight for the final time. He's got 2 more corners to go in this race, as Conti's now had a spin for 9th place. So his shot at getting on reverse grid pole position has gone with that. Maze is going to get reverse grid pole as it stands in 8th place. Honey Badger, big slide under brakes there into the hairpin. I think maybe just showing off a little bit for us towards the end of this race as he comes up towards the final corner for the final time in the feature race. He crowns turn 16 for the 16th and final time, and up to the line, Honey Badger is your feature race victor. Siege is going to get yet another podium this season. 2nd place for Siege, 2.6 seconds was the gap in the end, and Scuba just held on to the podium over Mashiro, who had a stellar final final lap. Nearly caught Scuba, but wasn't quite close enough to challenge him. Stebbian has to settle for 5th place. Ivoxara, a great recovery to 6th place for him, but Prenz is going to jump him on penalties by a 10th of a second. Good recovery from Prenz after an early spin as well. Mays will get your reverse grid pole position in 8th place in that MP Motorsport car, so he'll start the sprint race on pole position, so look out for him. Silas will be next across the line after Mays as he takes that. Great stuff from Mays. Silas then will be in 9th place ahead of Neymar, who will cross the line in 10th place. Conti, another bit of a moment there, a bit coming out of the hairpin. He's got a lot of damage on that car. Does Conti, he rounds the last corner and will cross the line in 11th place. We'll wait and see how the penalties play out. Neymar gets 9th, Silas 10th, Conti 11th. We just wait now for Invictus and Svenden, who are just coming down the back straight at the moment, and they were caught out very early on in this race. But I mean, he nearly threw it away, but Honey Badger in the end gets the race victory.
Yeah, he had control. He was just making a tiny bit more exciting for us. Maybe even heard that we were saying it was 10 seconds. Okay, I'll just shock these guys. I'll let it go down to 3 for fun. But he was able to control it, get it back up to 5 seconds in the end. So it looked like Honey Badger a couple of times was a little bit shaky, but definitely suited to be in the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very reminiscent of what we saw from Scuba last week, where Honey Badger's done the same thing in the other high-tech cars. So high-tech will get both of the race wins of the season so far, and Scuba will hold on to the lead of the championship, having beaten Stebbian and only lost 1 place to Siege in that race. So Scuba is still your championship leader after the second round of the season. We've got a sprint race to go, so yet more action coming at you guys. So don't go anywhere. We've still got a sprint race coming up, and sprint races tend to be even more chaotic than the feature race. So who knows what is going to come from that race. But here is the final order then from the first race of the evening. Honey Badger is your race winner for the High-Tech Grand Prix team. Siege gets in second place for Charu. Double High-Tech podium then in the end. Scuba, a poor first lap, but a great recovery up to third place. Mishiro in fourth, what could have been for him. He was so close to a podium, but a couple of mistakes throughout the race kind of put pay to that charge. Stephen dropped at the end of the race with struggling on the soft compound tyres. Prenz in sixth ahead of Ivoxara, a great recovery in seventh. Mays eighth, Neymar ninth, and Silas rounds off the top 10. Then it's Conti, Invictus, Svenden, and Yitzler were your finishers. Afri Fresh from what could have been a podium for him as well spun and put it in the wall. Jetty retired at the end of the first lap, and so did Halfdan as well. So 3 retirees from that race, 14 finishers and 14 point scorers, and Honey Badger with the race victory. But you've got to say, Scuba, that is a great recovery after dropping down to P9 at the end of the first lap.
Yeah, I think it was also his patience. Scuba actually showed some patience there, which is pretty smart thing to do around this track. Just waited for the right time.
Yeah, definitely did wait for the right time, and it paid dividends for him in the end. Mishiro nearly got him on the final lap, but just wasn't quite close enough to be able to make that move stick, unfortunately. So we'll wait and see how the sprint race goes. Now, the front row for the sprint race is going to be Mays and Ivoxara, so we'll wait and see who's going to get the best off the front row. But
we had a crazy start there in that race. That was insane in that first corner.
Yeah, and that was just the feature race, so who knows how the sprint race is going to pan out. But Mays and Ivoxara the front row, and Ivoxara, despite having been taken out on the first lap, I think on a couple of occasions, great recovery to P7 for him, and he has good pace on the mediums at the end of the race. So good opportunity maybe for Ivoxara to get a podium here.
Yeah, definitely. P7 is respect. I mean, the way the guys had to get through that first corner, that was a little bit crazy. There was way too much contact, but again, we have to talk about the cool things here, and there's a lot of respect shown. I mean, one thing that we have to respect is that whenever there's space, the drivers give the space. If there's a car that definitely is going to pass, that let them pass. That's good driving around this track.
Yeah, definitely is. It can be very difficult here to leave someone no room. It's very tempting to just kind of cut people off at a lot of the corners because of how long some of the corners are. But yeah, these guys showing a lot of respect. I think that first lap was just a little bit unfortunate. We had basically people going 3 and 4 wide, and there just wasn't enough room as they headed towards turn 2, unfortunately. But it seems almost everyone got away with it, apart from a couple of drivers, Yeti and Halfdan, I think, were the biggest casualties of that, unfortunately. Those two out of the race, which is such a shame. But let's have a look then. Everyone should be starting this race on a set of medium compound tyres, and they are. So everyone on the mediums, 12 laps on the mediums though. That is a tall order for these guys.
No problem. How do you think Mays is going to handle this in pole?
I'm not sure if I'm completely honest, because I've seen Mays start on reverse grid pole position before, and Mays is traditionally very good off the line. At least the 2019 Formula 2 cars, Mays does get off the line very well, and he's very, very smart with his driving, and he's able to recognise when he's able to fight for a position and when he's not. But sometimes, especially at tracks like this, when one person overtakes you and you've got faster drivers behind you, it's just like a swarm of cars come at you and overtake you in constantly afterwards. So it's going to be difficult for Maze to hold on, especially around a track like this where there's plenty of overtaking opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the beauties here, the reverse grid. But at the same time, if you're not used to having the pole, it's you sort of feel pressured that you have to get a fast start. If you don't get a fast start, there will be cars passing you on both sides. Both sides leading to swing on here. But I mean, whenever I'm driving myself, my starts are not good. And it's like there's cars driving left and right and they're passing, and it's like, oh no, 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 why did I not get a better start?
Yeah, it can be very tempting to really try and get the best start you possibly can in these sprint races, and it end up catching you out, and you end up having a terrible start because of it. So, I mean, who knows how that's one of the beauties as well about Formula 2, is these cars are so difficult to get off the line. So if you absolutely nail it, you are rewarded with an amazing start. But we get round the final corner then. Who do you think is going to be on the podium here in the sprint race?
Mashiro, based on what we've seen today, Mashiro. And hopefully Prenz. I saw the Prenz who had a pretty fast pace, so I took Prenz to possibly get out in the lead here, and then we see what happens. I mean, definitely Honey Badger. He's eager now. Honey Badger's like, this is my track.
Yeah, definitely. It seems to be like he absolutely adores this track by the looks of things. Can Honey Badger do the double? Can he win both the feature and the sprint race? We'll wait and see. But my money's on. I think he can do it. I think the pace that he showed in that first race, if he's able to get through the pack, I think he's definitely got the pace to pull this off. However, Mashiro, he's a good bet as well. I've got my own Mashiro in this race. Everyone lining up then for the start of the sprint race. Maze and Avatsara are your front row then. Everyone is lined up on the grid. We had a few people disqualified from the formation lap, so they're going to be starting on very cold medium compound tyres as we get ready then for the start of this race. Fingers crossed at least we get ready for the start of this race. We've got a little bit of a delay, unfortunately, so hopefully that's not too much of a problem when we do get this race underway. We might have a little bit of it. Yeah, we might have a little bit of a delay, unfortunately. Fingers crossed it isn't the second week in a row where we get a delayed start to the sprint race, but we'll have to wait and see. I didn't quite see who the issue was with on the grid. I didn't see who was struggling with their car, so we'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, any other people that you've got your eye on in this race?
No, I mean, for me, it's really exciting to see the guys in the front row. One of the best things is that people are drivers that aren't usually in the front row suddenly get the front row, and then it's like it's part of the fun. It's like, what can happen?
Yeah, definitely part of the fun that we've got new drivers on the front of the grid, and it's their opportunity to really prove themselves in this championship. Great opportunity to score points. We're still stuck on the grid, unfortunately, so fingers crossed we can get this race underway. And my game's crashed. Bloody hell, this game.